Okay, so back in InDesign here, I'm going to click back on the type layer of my document, making sure I have that selected before I put anything on it. And again, I'm going to just create some type on here. As if this is a continuing page. Really, when you're creating type, very different than what I did on the first page. You really should be able to have your type be designed so well that your headline of your article or your statement, I don't want that in all caps, your headline copy, I'm going to hit a return, and your subheader copy, and your body copy, which this is in right now as I'm typing, it's in body copy because this is the paragraph style selected. That's how I know it's in body copy. Body copy. And now I'm going to fill the rest of this here with placeholder text. And then take a little out because I know I'm going to need it. So I'm going to select and apply the style for headline. I'm going to select and apply the style for subhead. And now I see some issues with my styles. And the issues pertain to, if I'm really doing this properly, running the type instead of separating the headline and the subhead into separate pieces like I did on the first page, which was sort of cheating. You don't want to have to do that. Sometimes you will have to do that, but really in a longer document you don't want to have to do that because it's going to be hell to try to fix it or change things. You want to make sure that at the onset you like the spacing between the different combinations that might occur, which is to say, if this line here, they just did a hard return, a regular return was a subhead, and then this line here is another subhead. That apparently was not a hard return. A hard return is a real return. A soft return is shift return when you just want to make a line break and it's not giving me the evidence that it's actually making a hard return here. It should be a true hard return. Let's try it again. Oh, I know why. That wasn't a hard return before it. So now, boom. Now, if I show you this, is really helpful to me. This has always helped me a lot. I don't want to have any overflow of text right now. Just don't want to deal with that subject. All right, what's really always helped me a lot is this, which is when this type box or type panel is selected and I do under type, show hidden characters. Yeah, what that's doing is showing me the paragraph return marks in the proper sizes that they are relating to. Headline has got the bigger one because that's the size is 60 whatever, and this is smaller, and then where there's a true hard return right there, you'll see this paragraph marker, hard return, hard return. You see that? This little tiny hash tag, there's like a little hash symbol there. That just means space. And if I make extra ones here, you see there's little dots. What does that hashtag mean? I might be lying. That means end of article. And these little dots, they're so minuscule, but there'll be extra spaces in there, little tiny extra space, little dots. So what's not good about this is that the subhead looks really crammed against the body copy, and also it looks like that on the top and on the bottom, and it also looks a little bit jammed up against the headline text, but I'm less concerned about that than I am about the way it looks up against the body copy. So I've now decided also that I can see within this text that anywhere I have a hard return inside the text, so here's a hard return inside the text, it's very difficult to tell that that's the beginning of a new paragraph. It just looks odd because there's, you know, a new line starting there, and that also doesn't have correct, you know, it's got to be a capital letter on a new line. Since I don't really know Greek, I'm not being as diligent as I should be to my capitalization here, but let's say period, and then this should start with a letter A, a capital letter A. There we go. And do I have a hard return in there? Again, delete returns. You see the tiny little paragraph mark there? Okay, so here's the deal. Let's click away, make sure nothing is selected, and go into body copy. I'm double clicking. This is opening up the paragraph styles options for body copy. You can think of it as an expanded control panel, this being the control panel. The control that I need is the thing called indents and spacing. And what I want is I want space after this paragraph. This is a paragraph style for indents and spacing. And the spacing is space after. Space after what? Space after a paragraph. And so here, if I click the up button, all of a sudden here you can see there's some air showing up between the paragraph return and the next paragraph. I will add more. See it now? See it now? You totally see it now, right? All right, so I'll bring it back a little bit. And I often find myself thinking, well, that is not enough, and that looks too much. I fiddle a lot with these numbers, like that 0.9, and then all of a sudden it'll look really, really there. Perfect, okay? But that's totally subjective. That should be a little bit less. And then that put it after each paragraph marker. But I want it, let's say, before as well. Can I do that? If I come over here and we say here space before, I can have space before. So that made a space before this paragraph where it starts saying body copy even begins. It puts air between this B and the top of it. So that's an option I could do. I tend to be more of just a space before, a space after person. I tend to not use space before unless I really need it. But that doesn't mean I don't use it. I do use it. I'm going to click 0 again, and you'll see it go away. Okay, so now this is how it looks. So instead of putting the space before and after the body copy, I prefer to, wherever possible, just put one spacer option on each paragraph type. So for subhead, I'll do the same thing, indents and spacing, and then space after. And so now there's some air between the top and the paragraph marker. And then I'll click away, and then I'll go to header, and I'll do the same thing here. Indents and spacing, and add space after. All right, I'll add more space after. Now that starts to look like a designer worked on this project, because the type's not all crammed together. It's starting to look more elegant. Now, I would still make some changes to this. I think that this looks a little gappy, and this looks a little tight. Do you see the difference between these? The space from the L to the top of the T. I've stared at this for many hours too long. I mean, I've done a lot of these, so I still feel like the space after on the body could be better. So I'm going to go body, indents and spacing, and increase that a little more. And click OK, click away. I can almost live with it, right? I think that subhead, click away, subhead could have a little bit less space after. Indents and spacing, and so I'll make this one 0.04. And click on and off the preview button. Okay. So I know that was a lot of information, but it's in a video. So I'm going to stop that one.